everyone. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to the very first interview of Jus Gentium. My name is Ataberk. As a founding president, each month I will be interviewing a parliamentarian at the heart of European Union, at the European Parliament itself. This video is brought by a partnership with Brüksel Kargası, a channel in which the European affairs are discussed. Briefly, Jus Gentium is a non-governmental organization based in Paris, working on interdisciplinary areas in which the international law takes a major discussion. It's a hub in Europe where young changemakers meet, and the organization is supported by European Commission itself. It's a remarkably exciting moment for me and for my team. Each month we will invite a parliamentarian to inspire our viewers. In fact, today I am joined with a really inspiring person, one of the youngest members of European Parliament, Mr. Niklas NIENASS himself. Welcome, Mr. Niklas.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for accepting our offer for today. First off, please let me ask you, how are you doing? Because I know that it's a busy time of year in the Parliament. The year is almost over, and also with NATO, southern border, with discussions about military. It's really busy. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm fine. So it's you're right. It's really busy at the moment, especially with the Parliament being new. So we had to establish our offices.
Yeah.
We had to find a way through this building even, and then obviously the whole structure of the European Parliament as an institution. And at the moment it's really tight and packed, everything, so I'm happy to have the time to chat with you. But I have to say I'm really happy that in 1 week now, almost a little bit more, we'll have Christmas break and we have some time off.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Yeah, same. All right, so as far as I know, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you are currently enrolled in a university, right?
That's correct, yes.
But at the same time you're a full-time parliamentarian. Being in these early ages, having a great responsibility on your shoulders, how does it feel, perhaps along with the advantages of being a voice of many people in Europe? What could be also disadvantages of being in that early age in the Parliament itself? What would it be like?
So, first of all, you're right. It's so much responsibility to really look into stuff and to be really always reachable for people and to answer their questions, because people have questions. Especially we saw that with some decisions that we took where people checked on how we decided, and then they asked me, why did you vote this or that, and I had to explain myself. And this is great because it shows that we have a functioning democracy, and I invite everyone to just do that more. But on the other hand, obviously it means work for me, but that's something I chose. So I think it's great to have young people in the Parliament and in the decision-making rooms. One thing is that we don't look. I'm 27, and we have the youngest member is 21, which is even younger, way younger. But we don't have anybody from the ages of, let's say, 1 till 21, right? Nobody of that experience group, and even obviously they can't vote, but like from 18 years old or older, they're not represented. And my experiences that I have as a young person are still quite different from those of my niece, for example, who is 19 now. So I think we need representation by people being in the Parliament.
Yeah.
That is important for the society to be tightened up, but also it's important because we have made such a different experience in the past. For example, my mother and my girlfriend's mother, they lived on the two different sides of the Berlin Wall. They have lived for their whole life in a completely different world. Now my girlfriend and I, we have never seen the Berlin Wall. We have never seen borders, and none of us young Europeans have ever seen borders, the Iron Curtain or anything like that in Europe. And so I think our experience that we made is so important for the decision-making of tomorrow. It must be implied in everything we do, because we know how a world can be if you don't have any borders.
Yeah. That's incredibly true. I agree on, and that will bring me to my second question. Actually, Seeing you the first time on social media, it's sparkled us talk between each other within our team. Also, it inspired us because seeing as such a young person in the parliament representing a large audience and people, it's incredibly good. And every year the number of young people within the parliament itself, in the executive branches, are increasing indeed. But also, as you said, we need more young people within the parliament so that we can change the structure or maybe perhaps the vision for European Union. How can you and the parliament get more young people engaged with perhaps, let's say, first the current affairs? That's really interesting to know better what's happening around the world, but also then later on the executive branches of European Union. How can we get them engaged?
Well, first of all, I think we need to invest more in educational purposes about the European Union. So far, I've seen that a lot of people, not just young people, but from all different age groups, have different perceptions of how the European Union works, and even wrong perceptions, because they have never learned it. I mean, the European Union, as we know it today, as it's functioning today, is only 20 years old, no, 25 years old now. So obviously, people need to be more educated about how we do stuff here. Second of all, there are youth events, for example, youth parliaments, where young people ask for their opinion and stuff, and I think it's a great way. But I have to say that those events only make sense if they fulfill in the end something, if they accomplish anything. Because what we don't want to see, and that happened previously, and that is really bad because it destroys democracy, I believe, that we ask young people, what do you want to do? What are you interested? What do you think the future needs? And so on. They came up with great idea, with policy advice and so on. And then it was taken by Commission and Parliament, looked at it and was like, very nice, thank you very much, I'll put it here and never touch it again. That is something that must not happen in a democracy. If we ask people, we need to take them serious and actually put that ideas into action. So that is something that we need to see, events, but also fulfillment. And then in the end, to bring them into executive branches. Let's face it, at the moment, I think the parties themselves are relevant here, and we need to make sure that people are have the chance in a party to become member of the parliament, because you need to be in a party and you need to be on a party list in order to become member of the parliament, and we need to ask parties to actually give chances to young people, just like my party did for me. Obviously, we can change the voting and election laws a little bit. For example, set it down to 16 that you're allowed to vote, or even younger. We can talk about a family voting law, which means that parents can vote for their children, because every human has the same rights, no matter how old you are. And then we can also talk, for example, in Italy, they have the law that you must be at least 25 to be elected. I think that is very unfair for young people, and so to stop stuff like this from happening, I think that is okay if we do that, and it's necessary. But in the end, we need the parties to react on the current situation that young people want to be involved, but just don't have the chance for it.
That is also the reason, probably, as you said, the people who think about the future of Europe, the affairs perhaps, they write and draft something, maybe they give a time to think about these issues very deeply, but later on when they come up with a solution and they present to the executive branches, they are not taking into regard with most of the people. And perhaps with you, this is going to be one of the changes that will be made in the upcoming years in the parliament.
I have to say, because somebody asked me, I was at school like last Monday, or this Monday, and somebody asked me what changed from your perspective since you became an MEP, and I said, well, people are now listening, and that is weird, because I used to be on during the campaign, I was on discussions, panels, and so on, and I discussed with my MEP colleagues. They used to be in the parliament, 3 of them. None of them is now in the parliament, and nobody took me serious because I'm too young. I have no idea, and please get more experience and so on. Now suddenly I am an MEP and suddenly everything changed and everybody's listening to me. It shouldn't be the fact that I'm an MEP why people listen to me. It should be because of the ideas and stuff that we're talking about, and young people should be heard in every discussion.
I agree. One of the reasons that I am enthusiastic of seeing more young people into politics is that they are more keen and have the tendency to search more about the issues happening. Maybe the older generation wouldn't question the things that they are happening right now in the world, but for a young generation, it is just one click away from their internet and mobile phones. For that, I believe they have the ability to access to true and correct information. So that could be a way to tackle the fake news, perhaps. But although itself, the internet is really open to any manipulation too. So in that regard, do you think that European Parliament and the executive branches should take a position in fake news perspective? Should they work on the fact that this young generation will be fed with true and correct information?
I think yes. We actually, there's an initiative report going to be drafted by the Libe Committee with the Cult Committee associated about media freedom and fake news. Because we always have to look at what we don't want is to reduce media freedom at all. There's no reason for that, and there's no chance that this can happen because we have a society that believes in media freedom and press freedom. However, how do we solve the problem of fake news? And I think what really matters is that people realize that times have changed. The internet is not a newspaper where you have, in a newspaper you knew the news were real or checked because they have a whole board behind it that checks it, that looks into it, that sees, and you could believe, okay, this is now the truth or at least very close to it because everybody makes mistakes, but they try to do. In the internet, everybody can write anything, and we have to get rid of that idea that everything you write, just because it's written, it's true.
Yeah.
That is not happening. So we have to self-check. It's more work, obviously, but I mean, the internet also allows a way easier to check sources. And I have the feeling that young people know that because they're like, it's the internet. I mean, not everything is true on the internet. Everybody knows that. I have the feeling that some older people who grew up with newspapers sometimes misunderstand that. And I think we need to invest in education rather to tell people, okay, learn how to use and how to deal with the internet. Be critical yourself. Check twice and thrice to see if there are other sources and so on. And I think we have to invest for schools to do that. I think that is already being done. A lot of young people are doing that. But again, we need to invest also in education for older people because the whole society needs to be on the same page and needs to trust the news that they get.
True, and also this will probably let the media literacy rates to get higher, I believe. With this more true information and accessibility, it will allow young people to trust the things that they will read probably. And the take from European perspective, European Parliament perspective, it is really important if we are going to engage more people into have a voice in their life and in the way that they are living. Perhaps it is better the way that we allow them to access the true and correct information, and that way we can tackle with it.
Yeah, but I also think when we're talking about the internet, you're not just receiver, but you can also be the sender, right? You can always be the broadcasting station yourself, like you are right now, and you can always write a blog and write political essays or report on news that you see on the streets happening, like we see in Hong Kong. This is very important. This is the greatness of the internet, but we have to make sure, and this is more like a society, like a question of how we work as a society. We have to make sure that what we send is true and that is evidence-based, and that we make sure that we want to tell the truth and check that everything is fine. So I think if we can agree on that as a society, to check news, but also to only send true news, then I think we're way more ahead.
After talking to you, it's really nice that such inspiring ideas are now being represented within the European Parliament. I thank you very much for all your efforts and ideas. and I guess we will be meeting each other in close future again. I would like to hear your opinions on some other certain issues. Again, we'll share with the viewers.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to meet you again.
Thank you.
Have a chat.
That should be it with the interview with Mr. Niklas NIENASS, and we will be continuing to interviewing with inspiring young parliamentarians in close future. I guess the fact that here we are with such people should show the fact that you as a young generation have a chance to have a voice in such executive branches. Thank you for watching. Let's keep in touch.